Welcome to the Association 100 podcast. The A100 podcast is an extension of our Association 100 bi-monthly newsletter that focuses on best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies and tactics that work in the world of associations. The podcast will feature meaningful conversations with association professionals across the country, taking a deeper dive into trending topics, offering insights that both inform and inspire.
Welcome back to the A100 podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Gallagher, and today's going to be a little bit different. I'm doing a solo cast, so you're stuck with just me for the next 20 to 30 minutes here. But I created this episode specifically for our association communicators out there who are looking to up your media relations game, or maybe just looking for some validation that what you're doing is the right thing. So for today's episode, I'm tackling a topic that's vital for every association, and that's how to boost your association's PR and media relations to get maximum impact. In this episode, I'm going to focus on demystifying the media landscape and providing you with practical tips and strategies to enhance your association's visibility and your influence. Whether you're a seasoned communications expert or you're just starting to dip your toes into the world of PR, this episode is going to be packed with valuable insights to help you navigate the complexities of media relations with a lot more confidence. I'll kick things off by exploring what makes content newsworthy for associations, how you can leverage timeliness, relevance, significance, and uniqueness to really catch the media's attention. Then I'll dive into the art of building and using a quality press list, which seems obvious, but really important. I'll talk about targeted research, personalized outreach, and the importance of maintaining up-to-date context. Then I'll share our recipe for securing national media coverage, including establishing authority, aligning with current trends, creative storytelling, the critical role of persistence in developing relationships, and ultimately placements with national media outlets. And finally, I'll cover best practices for nurturing long-term press relationships, hopefully providing you with strategies to help you become a trusted and valuable source in the media landscape. So whether you're aiming to amplify your association's voice, establish your experts as industry leaders, or simply just get your story in front of a wider audience, you are in the right place. So let's get started. We're going to unlock the power of effective PR and media relations for your association. First up, we're going to talk newsworthiness. Understanding what makes content newsworthy is crucial for any association looking to capture the media's attention. It's a question I actually get asked a lot. How can we make our content stand out in a crowded media landscape? Because that is so hard in today's world. There is so much out there. So I want to share some key factors that can help transform the way you're making announcements, how you're looking at your research findings or your initiatives, and turn them into compelling stories that journalists and your audience will actually care about. For some of you, this will be more about being armed with the right thing to say when stakeholders, whether that's fellow staff or board members, come to you asking to get media attention for a particular topic that you know right away is not going to merit news coverage. This can help you come back to them in a way that is professional, but makes it really clear, yes or no, does this meet the criteria? Should we be pitching this? First and foremost, timeliness. The media world operates on what's happening now. Current events, recent studies, timely reactions to industry changes. If your story can tie into current events and trends, then it has a much higher chance of being picked up. It's all about capturing a moment, making your content resonate with the here and now. So next, let's talk about relevance. This seems obvious, like so many things we talk about in PR, but again, we don't always pay attention to. So this is where understanding your audience and the media's audience really comes into play. Your story needs to matter to them. It should have an impact, or it should provide insights that are valuable and specific to their interests or needs. When you're crafting your pitch or press release, always ask yourself, why should they care? And how does this affect them? Significance is another critical factor. The more people your story impacts, the more newsworthy it becomes. This could be about changes in legislation that are affecting your industry. It could be breakthrough research or major events. It's about scale and it's about scope. If your story has wide-reaching implications or wide-reaching benefits, highlight those pieces. And lastly, uniqueness. What sets your story apart? The media is always on the lookout for fresh, unique angles on stories, even on well-trodden topics. But it's got to be something fresh. It can't be the same thing they're being fed in 25 other pitches they got in the last hour. So if you can offer a new perspective, an innovative solution, or a surprising fact, you have a much stronger chance of standing out. This doesn't mean every story has to be groundbreaking, but finding that unique angle, it can make all the difference. And then remember that not every piece of content your association produces is going to tick all these boxes, and that's okay. The goal is to be strategic in identifying and promoting the stories that do, and remembering that it's about quality and not quantity. Armed with this understanding, you're better equipped to judge the newsworthiness of your content and make really informed decisions on what to push for media coverage. In the end, successful media relations for associations, it isn't just about broadcasting your message. It's about crafting stories that resonate, stories that inform, and stories that engage. By focusing on these key factors of newsworthiness, you can really elevate your association's profile and ensure your messages don't just get heard, but remembered and acted upon. Now we've got our newsworthiness compass in hand, so let's move on to talk about how you build and maintain a press list that truly serves your association goals. I know in my world, so often the press list is something delegated down to an intern or coordinator or someone new, and it's time consuming and they're pain and they're always changing. But wow, is it important? Building a quality press list is truly one of those foundational tasks in PR that just can't be overlooked, especially in this space. It's not just about having a list of contacts. Think about it more like curating a network of journalists and outlets that align with your association's mission and audience. So, how do you go about building this truly invaluable resource the right way then? The first step is identifying those right media outlets, which seems basic, but it's really crucial to target publications, websites, and broadcasters that have a track record of covering topics that are pertinent to your industry. That means diving deep into your field's media landscape and picking out those outlets that really matter to your members and stakeholders. Once you've pinpointed these outlets, it's time to get into the nitty gritty and do your research. And yes, I mean really digging in. You got to find the journalists and editors who specialize in your sector, read their articles, watch their segments, listen to their podcasts. You can't just pick a bunch of names on a list based on the job title and send your pitches out, because chances are if you click through, something has changed, or maybe they do cover tech, but all of their last 50 articles are just about Twitter. So that might have nothing to do with why you're reaching out, and what a waste of time it would be to keep sending them your pitches. But if you'd taken the time to do that research, you would know that. So understanding their interests and their past work is really key to ensuring that when you do reach out, you're going to do so with a pitch that truly resonates with them. Remember, the media landscape is ever changing, with journalists moving beats and outlets very frequently, especially at that top tier level. So keeping that press list updated, it's not a one-time task, but a continuous part of your PR strategy. And while that is a giant time suck, and I know you have 8,000 other things on your to-do list, and it's so easy to let this one go, an outdated press list can result in missed opportunities and wasted effort. Personalization goes a really long way in media outreach. So once you're ready to reach out, reference their past work. Explain why your story is specifically relevant to them. This personal touch can make all the difference, turning a cold pitch into a warm conversation. I've been there. I've worked at an association, and I wanted to personalize those pitches. And yet I had 8,000 other things to do, like I talked about earlier. So often, instead of doing that, the extent of my personalization was hi, first name, and then my pitch, and off to the list. We found that just really doesn't work anymore. And that's one thing at Onward and Upward we really take our time on, is customizing those pitches, mentioning past coverage, finding ways to make it relevant for their audience. It really can make all the difference to have that personalization. Coming back to the list, when it comes down to it, a well-researched, diligently updated, and thoughtfully used press list, now that's your ticket to effective media relations. It's not about the number of contacts you have on that list. It's the quality of relationships you're able to build. It's the quality of media hits you're able to get. And you're going to start genuinely connecting with people who care about your association's work. You got to remember that building a press list, though, it's just the beginning. Once you have it, you have to nurture those relationships. But we're going to talk more about that later. Next, we're really going to hit on our recipe for getting national media coverage. I hope I don't get you too excited now, because the truth is we all know there is no easy secret recipe to getting your association in the national spotlight. But in that association world, landing that level of exposure, it can feel like striking gold. It's about getting your message out on this grand scale, amplifying your association's impact far beyond its immediate circle. So how do we do it? Well, at ONU, we did think it would be fun to put this together recipe style, so I'll break it down that way. The first ingredient in our recipe, without a doubt, it's newsworthiness. And we've already talked in great detail about that. But you need to have a story that's not just important to you and your members for national coverage. It has to have broader appeal. This could be a really innovative solution your industry is offering, a major milestone, an unusual challenge you're tackling. Remember, national media, they're looking for stories with widespread significance or a unique twist that captivates a larger audience. Next, we're going to stir in a significant serving of relationships, but also using the right tools. You hear a lot about relationships in the world of PR, and while fostering relationships with journalists is really valuable, it's not solely about having a close-knit rapport. True, knowing reporters can help, but it just isn't a silver bullet for media coverage unless your story stands out. I could have a best friend working in a newsroom. She's not putting my story on the air unless it's a good story. So using the right tools to pinpoint the right contacts, reaching out at the opportune moment with a story that truly resonates, that's what can achieve remarkable results. The caveat here is that I do think relationships are still really, really important when it comes to your trade reporters. This approach ensures you're not just shooting in the dark, but are strategically placing your narrative where it has the best chance to thrive. It's a blend of strategic timing, compelling storytelling, and leveraging the right tools that can propel you into the news spotlight. Mix in a handful of expert positioning. You want to establish your association and its leaders as authoritative voices in your industry. That's really key. This can be achieved through thought leadership articles, speaking engagements, by being a reliable source of information and insights. When journalists need a quote or an expert opinion, you want them to think of you first. You want to be that go-to source. Don't forget, you've got to include a dash of timeliness. So your story needs to resonate with what's happening now, whether it's tying into current events, trends, even seasons. Timing can be everything when it comes to capturing national attention. And it goes without saying, we're going to stir in some compelling storytelling as well. Your message has to be engaging. It has to be relatable. Above all, it's got to be memorable. National media won't just cover your press release. They want a story that's going to draw readers, viewers, or listeners in. Sprinkle in some social media savvy too. Use your digital platforms to amplify your message and create buzz around your story. Engaging content can catch the eye of national journalists and influencers, making them more likely to cover your story. Finally, you got to blend all these ingredients with one really large bowl of persistence, because it is not easy. Securing national media coverage often requires follow-up and a whole lot of resilience. Your first, second, and even third attempts may not get the traction you're hoping for, but your persistence will pay off. So there you have it. That is our recipe for national media success. It's about combining all of these elements with a really clear understanding of your goals and a strategic approach to your communications efforts. Up next, I'm going to shift gears and really dive into those press relationships and nurturing them that we talked about earlier. This is where the long-term work really comes into play, turning those one-time stories into more ongoing opportunities. So stay with me here. If there's one aspect of PR that deserves ongoing attention, it really is how to nurture those all-important press relationships. I said earlier, it's not about just making connections. It's about keeping them vibrant and productive. And while there is huge turnover and churn at the top tier level for reporters, making that much more difficult At that level, like I mentioned, that's often not the case for trade reporters. Many trade reporters have been covering their industry for 20 or even 30 plus years. Understanding the beats and interests of the journalists you engage with is step one. It's about doing your homework, really getting to know what makes them tick and what stories they're passionate about covering too. This means you got to keep up with their articles, recognize shifts in their interests, and really tailor your pitches to align with these changes. Value is what you should always aim to provide, whether it's offering up unique insights from within your association, expert commentary on current trends, or compelling story angles. Think about what makes your input beneficial for them. This isn't just about what you need. It's about creating that mutual exchange of value that benefits both of you. Then there's the personal touch. I can't emphasize enough the importance of developing personal connections, especially with your trade reporters. I hear so often from trade associations about media pickup, oh, that just got covered in the trades. Or in other cases, I see associations that have really adversarial relationships with their trade publications. And I think this is such a missed opportunity. Yes, we all love the national spotlight, but if all your members are reading your trade publications, isn't that right where you want to be? So when we talk about building those connections, this can mean reaching out with a comment on an article they've written that you found insightful, or perhaps suggesting a brief catch-up call or coffee. Though, to be fair, we're finding fewer journalists have any time or interest in coffee meetups or desk side briefings these days than used to. I'd be curious to hear others' experience there, but it certainly is not as easy to get them to find time for that as it used to be. I think it's so important to always remember that these relationships are not just transactions. They're about genuine connections and mutual respect. Being responsive and reliable is another absolute cornerstone. If a journalist reaches out to you, prioritize that request. If you promise information, deliver it promptly. Being seen as a dependable source can significantly set you apart and make you a go-to for journalists when they need information in your field. You want to be on that list of this person's going to get back to me. Finally, patience and persistence are virtues in this game. I struggle here because I have no patience, but it really is so important. And if you don't show it when working on media relations, you're just going to be in a constant state of frustration. Building and nurturing cross relationships, it's just truly a long-term endeavor with those trade pubs. And it's not about instant results. It's about laying a foundation for ongoing dialogue and ongoing opportunities. One thought I really want to leave you with is this. Whether you're seeking to make headlines, build your press list, trying for national media coverage, or cultivating those relationships, remember that at the heart of all of this is storytelling. It always comes back to sharing the narratives of your association in ways that resonate, inform, and inspire. So I'm sure you've heard enough of me talking for today. So as we start to draw to a close here, I want to underscore a vital point about the power of strategic PR and media relations for our associations listening today. The work we do, the stories we tell, the relationships we nurture, and the coverage we seek, it all builds towards a singular goal: establishing our associations as the go-to sources in our respective industries. Every piece of media coverage, each well-crafted pitch, and all the time and effort we put into making our stories newsworthy contribute significantly to this goal. These aren't just isolated wins. They're building blocks for a larger structure of credibility and authority. It's about creating momentum that propels your association forward, making it not just relevant, but essential. Think of it as a snowball effect. The more you engage with the media effectively, the larger your presence goes, and the more that you're seen as the authoritative voice in your field. This just doesn't happen overnight, and it definitely doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of thoughtful, strategic, and consistent efforts in PR and media relations. As association professionals, your job is to ensure that your organizations stand out, your voices are heard, your members in your industry benefit from the recognition and influence that come with being at the forefront of conversations. That's how we make a difference. And that's how you leave a mark. So I hope you take these insights we've explored today and apply them and watch as your association's narrative not only reaches, but resonates with wider audiences. The journey to becoming the go-to source, yeah, it's challenging, but it's so rewarding when it really works. And it's a testament to the impact we can have through our dedication to effective communication. Believe me, I know the world of media relations can be tough, but I hope you all keep sharing those stories, keep striving for excellence, and continue to be a truly indispensable resource for your association. And remember that the work you're doing today, it's building momentum for tomorrow's success. So thank you so much for sticking with me today and listening to me go on and on about this topic that I care an awful lot about. I really appreciate you tuning in, and see you next time on the A100.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Association 100 podcast, brought to you by the A100 publishing team, powered by Onward and Upward Marketing and Communications. You can subscribe to the Association 100 podcast on Spotify so you'll never miss out, or listen via our website at theassociation100.com. Follow us for all the latest insights and trends impacting the world of associations. Thanks for tuning in.